Meeting with Mrs. McGowan to hear that she would have the problems resolved in 2 weeks?
I did say I would get back to Mr. McGowan after investigating the matter, and I intend to do so.
It has been several years that Mr. McGowan has been trying to have this resolved, Mr. Eason.
It's a little unfair to me to do this to me at this point in time.
Well, it's been unfair to us to pay extra $6,000 plus another $3,000, wait 3 years, and then do we have to wait another 3 years?
Now, how much longer does it take Mr. Eason to establish that with Mr. McGowan that he doesn't have to make any further payment?
Well, as I said, I'll review Mr. McGowan's file.
Activist Ann Holmes is on a mission, and she's targeting most of the big life insurance companies. She blames them for convincing consumers to buy vanishing premium policies. Policies whose premiums were supposed to stop after a set number of years, but didn't.
This is so wrong. It's so terribly wrong. It's been hurtful to so many people.
She started a national association to fight for the thousands of people across Canada who were sold vanishing premium policies, as she herself was.
Why did you trust the person who sold you this kind of policy?
My husband and I, when we were teenagers, babysat his children. He went to our wedding. There was no reason for me not to trust him.
Canadians were sold these policies by most of the major life insurance companies. The policies were sold under names like Canada Life's Accelerator Policy and London Life's Jubilee Premium Offset option. The policies were often sold to customers in their own homes by agents who told them they would pay high premiums, but who promised it would only be for a limited number of years. But then, when those years of payments were over, the companies often returned to the customer and told them they would have to keep paying, sometimes for years. The reason offered by the companies? Their dividend performance had changed. That's exactly what happened to Jim McGowan. He runs a small coffee truck business in Oakville, Ontario.
$4? There's no chicken. Steak?
Okay, give me steak.
Okay.
He relied on what his agent told him.
That was the key thing. 10-year payments. And I said, okay, are you sure that this is only going to be 10 years? It's not going to be 12, 15, or 20? And he said, no, 10-year payments, and at the end of 10 years, you have to make no more payments, and you have a $300,000 coverage. And I have documentation showing here the
McGowan even has a letter from his insurance agent saying he was only supposed to pay for 10 to 12 years.
Is this fair?
It's not fair. No, there's no way it's fair. It's just...
Well, you signed it in the first place.
I signed it in the first place. I didn't sign what they gave me. I signed what they sold me.
The written contract, which he was given later, made no mention of payment periods. And the only warning that the number of payments was not guaranteed was a small printed note at the bottom of an illustration sheet used as part of the sales pitch.
The brokers now represent typically 20 or 30 companies.
Jim Bullock now heads an association of independent life insurance brokers. But he sold life insurance for almost 30 years. Over that time, he sold about 5,000 policies. Only a few of them were vanishing premiums.
I succumbed to the glossy material, the fantastic performance figures, and I sold 3 of them, which I now am ashamed to admit that I did. I'm embarrassed that I did. If I'd done my homework better, I wouldn't have, but I did. In fact, 2 of those clients subsequently came back to sue me.
Bullock claims agents weren't the only ones at fault. He says many of the insurance companies were aware vanishing premium policies had a potentially serious problem.
They knew it had a flaw, that is, if interest rates went down, it wouldn't work. They marketed it, they promoted it, they encouraged it. The hierarchy within the company made a lot of money on it and override commissions on us. And we on the front lines were not told that the investments were such that if interest rates went down, it would be a disaster.
2 insurance companies in Canada have already been sued in class action lawsuits by policyholders. Both Sun Life and Manulife have agreed to pay out monies to as many as 500,000 Canadians. When we asked both companies for interviews, they declined. What's surprising is that after thousands of complaints and 2 class action lawsuits, Marketplace found that these kind of policies are still for sale. We set up hidden cameras in a Windsor, Ontario home and invited this London Life agent to specifically sell us a vanishing premium policy.
Are you guaranteed at 12 years you're done paying?
No.
You're not. It's based on the market conditions, mortality, and expenses, and this is the best guess that they can possibly give you based on today's economic situations.
So far, so good. The agent has correctly told our customer that there are no guarantees the payments will stop after 12 years. But does he tell him the rest? That the payments could go on for another 8 years, a total of 20 years.
I guess one of my questions is that you say they take 11 or 12 years, and come that point in time, they may or may not, your premiums may or may not be paid in full depending on market conditions.
Yes.
What, say in 12 years, what might happen? That you've got to pay 1 more year, or you've got to pay 10 more years?
Oh, on something like that, you're looking probably at about a year.
About a year. That's all he claims. We asked the London Life agent to explain to us his sales claims, but he wouldn't. The company, London Life, also declined to come on air. Some companies have changed their sales techniques regarding vanishing premium policies. The 2 companies that have settled class action lawsuits, Sun Life and Manulife, now require customers to sign a statement which says that the number of premiums is not guaranteed. So while the danger of buying a vanishing premium policy persists, Ann Holmes and policyholders like Jim McGowan are still fighting back.
I don't care about standing up hollering and screaming because I got nothing to lose now. And when you're right, you can talk loudly.
McGowan finally got a reply from Canada Life. In their letters, they still insisted there was no guaranteed period of payment. And they even questioned whether Ann Holmes was his life insurance agent. Meanwhile, Ann Holmes continues advising customers who've been left